Hey Hodies, welcome back to my channel. My name is hautemesstom, and we are going to be talking about products that skipped the line. So I sometimes review products, or I just bring products into my sphere, but products aren't always automatically invited into my makeup collection. One of my drawers is dedicated to stuff that I don't know what my feelings are on it, but these are the products that are kind of love at first sight. It might have taken a couple of uses, but after like 2 or 3 uses, I went, yes, I'm keeping you. You're welcome. You're coming to the party. You're invited to the party. You're invited to stay. Today, I'm going to run through a couple of those products that I just thought were so good the first time I used them, or the first couple times I've used them, that they didn't even have to go in to the testing drawer for that long, or at all in some cases. Let's start with primers. So I didn't apply all of these to my face, but I will be showing you some footage of what I have applied to my face today. But let's start with the Victoria Beckham primers. So these are cell rejuvenating primers for Victoria Beckham. I have both shades. I have the original and the shade Golden. Today I use the shade Golden, and that should be the footage that's running right now. This is a product that I knew the first time I put it on in my first impressions video that this was something special, and I was like, oh no, didn't want to like this. And then in my final Victoria Beckham beauty review, I said, I'm so sorry, but I really like it. It's really good. I like it so much that I bought another one. So at first I just bought the original shade, but recently, since we're heading into summertime and I want to be like a bronzed goddess in kind of situation, I bought Golden. Will I say that I was bullied into it? Sort of. Some of you were like, maybe you just need to do it. Now, I wouldn't have bought the full size if the smaller size was available, but it wasn't, and I knew I was gonna like it, and I had a really hard day that day, and so I just decided to buy it. Luckily for me, they both work for me. I was really concerned that perhaps the Golden would feel too deep, even though some of my friends who have the same skin tone as me have said that it worked really well for them. I just was like nervous because it was like, is it really gonna be a thing that I feel like I'm gonna get value out of? And it turns out I do. And I just really like these. They just really prep your skin for makeup in a way that I just haven't experienced with some of my other things. I would say that the closest thing I have in texture, in likeness to them, is the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. But I think these plump more, these blur a little bit more. They just really make your skin look really great and prepped for the foundation that's about to go on top of them. And I just have no complaints about them. I have never had any issues with them pilling or doing anything weird on top of SPF. I feel like it holds my makeup in place for a longer period of time than some of my other primers do. To me, it's an A1 product. It is a very expensive product, and I completely respect that it's not in everyone's price range. But if you were looking for a treat, or if you were just, you have a butt ton of money and buying a $95 primer isn't something you bet an eyelash at, then I'd say go for it if you haven't tried it yet. I'll be devastated. If I ever find myself in a situation where I don't have one of them, I think I'll be pretty devastated. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to use Golden all year round, so I'm probably going to be focusing on this one more in the summer. Whenever fall comes back around and I'm feeling like less bronzed goddessy, then I'll probably will switch back to the original primer. The reason that Golden was really able to skip the line is because the original one ran for it. It's like this one walked so that this one could run. But I knew the first time I used this, although I didn't say it on camera. I tried really hard to avoid like a verbiage about like this is my new favorite thing, or that I like this, especially when it's my first time using something. But I knew, even though I didn't verbalize it, I knew that this was like here to stay, and here we are. Now there's 2 of them. She has a sister. Every now and then I do a brand deep dive, but what I like to do when I'm doing the brand deep dive is to like try the products off camera-ish. So I record my first impressions and then I continue using the products intermittently. Right now I'm doing a big video on Makeup Forever, so I'm testing a bunch of Makeup Forever products. And I wasn't sure if I was going to include them in here, but I think it's okay to, because I'm still exploring these products and I think that they belong here. And who knows if I will do this kind of video after this video comes out. Something that I really liked that I have tried is this. This is the Makeup Forever Redness Corrector Primer. I have some redness in my skin. It's not a big priority for me to cover it up. I have tried using just like regular color corrector and I forget it. It's not a step that I easily remember to work into my process unless my skin is like really red. Like it's red maybe from razor burn, or it's like red from like irritation from something else. Maybe I put too much retinol on my skin. All of these things could be true. Green color corrector in my primer. Very nice. Now, I actually have tried Makeup Forever primers before and I did not like them. So I wasn't sure that I was going to like this, so I bought a mini. Well, also when I do these big brand reviews, I'm paying out of pocket for them unless otherwise stated. I don't reach for it all the time. It feels like a primer for very special occasions, but It just, I know that something like this belongs in my repertoire. I enjoy using this so much more than the Chanel color corrector that I have, because like this does just what I need it to. I don't need intense color correction. This gives me that little bit of green, just like, it doesn't cancel out redness like perfectly or all the way, but I am probably going to put foundation on it. But it's also a thing that I could see myself using on days where I'm just not wearing any foundation, but I just like want my skin to look a little bit more perfected. Like this is something that I would throw on. Like this definitely skips the line and like stays in my brain, right in the frontal lobe, if that's where that is. Is this the front of your brain? Because I'm not a scientist. I'm excited to continue using this. It's one of the Makeup Forever products that I continue to reach for since I've gotten it. Speaking of Makeup Forever products, this skipped the line real fast. This is actually, I think it's like the complexion product that I've been using the most, and it is the Makeup Forever Reboot Foundation. I have the shade Y218. I knew that this would probably be the Makeup Forever item that I liked the most. It's like light coverage. I can't describe to you is like what happens after it's on your skin. So it's one of those things where this does not look like it matches me. It doesn't even look like it is the color of my face. And then I promise you that this is what I used today. In fact, you're seeing footage of it right now. Let me tell you this. Spoiler alert for the Makeup Forever video. I wore this outside in the rain, in like on a humid day. Like I wasn't in the rain, but I was like under a tent, humid, hot. I was there for, I don't know, I would say I was outside for like 7 hours with this on, and it was still there at the end of the party. And that, I wasn't even expecting to test this foundation in such a way. I wasn't expecting for the weather to be as bad as it was at the event. I wasn't really sure what the event was going to be like. This stayed. I don't know that it's surpassing, but it is giving the Surratt Dewdrop Foundation a run for its money in my brain. I know that this is one of my 4. So if you're not familiar with my channel, if you made it this far in the video, I would like to ask you to subscribe. That really would be nice of you if you did it. Also, if you're already this far into the video, you might as well like it. And I'm also on patreon.com if you would like to support me there. There's no pressure to. It's just there if you would like to do it. And I also have merch at the bottom, so you can do all of those things. And we're gonna do it so that the gods don't yell at me. So you're just gonna do it, the gods won't yell at me, and you won't get smited. I don't make the rules. The gods do. I like to only limit myself to 4 foundations that like I consider like in my collection. I might have more in rotation because I'm testing some things, but I know, I can tell you this right now, this is one of the 4. This is one of the 4. It looks like skin. It's like maybe a little more wet, a little more hydrated, but I wouldn't even say it's like the wettest looking foundation I've ever tried. I just love the way it makes my skin look. And it has blur, and I don't think it blurs as much as the Surratt, but it makes my skin look really beautiful. It's not been fussy for me. While I was expecting to like it, I wasn't expecting it to be like rise to the top so quickly. It's very good. It is very, very good. We will move on to some powders. I hate this because I don't really care for this brand, but I'm not gonna lie to you. These Charlotte Tilbury powders. Now I've heard people say that these powders are nice. Well, this was kind of new whenever I tested Charlotte Tilbury, the airbrush brightening powder, but the original powder, which I only have a mini on because I did a Charlotte Tilbury brand review. Plug. Again, I don't really care for the brand. I feel like they're, I don't know. I feel like they're sketchy. But what I will tell you is that the brightening powder under my eye, it does like a nice amount of blurring, and I do like a little bit of a brightened under eye. And what I find that this does for me and my skin tone is it does the brightening thing without it making it look too stark. So you can use a concealer that's your exact match and then just put a little bit of this, sweep it under the eye, and it really does it. I like to do it on the center of the forehead, down my nose, and a little bit on my chin, which like you really can't tell because of the facial hair on my chin, like that does anything. The center of my face is just like a little bit highlighted and brightened, and I love that. But it also has like a very, very good amount of blur. Is it the most blurring thing? No, but I think as a first step in my powder blur, it's really good. And I feel the same way about the regular powder. I just think it's a delight to use. It's not fussy. It always works. It always makes my skin look better. And ultimately, that's what I want my powder to do, right? I want it to like set my makeup, but it makes the finish of my makeup, like it keeps the integrity of the finish of the makeup underneath it. Like it just does everything that you would want a powder to do. Now, it's not the most mattifying. These are definitely for people who are not looking for like matte all day kind of powder. This is the kind of thing that you apply it first, probably take the powders around with you to touch up if you are that kind of person. I don't touch up. Whatever happens, happens. We have to throw caution to the wind sometimes when we're out and about. And it's like, whatever I'm going to look like is whatever I'm going to look like. Now, if you have like a more professional situation that you're in, I'm not professional at anything. I've never been professional, not one time in my life. I just think that they're really beautiful. And I do think that they, you know, enhance the longevity of my product, like of the foundation and everything I have on underneath. I also used a little bit of the Chantecaille Perfect Blur powder, but this is not a product that I'm including in all of this. It's because it wasn't love at first sight with that product. It took me a while to love it. Bronzer. I had to think about it. These bronzers, it doesn't really matter the shade, but these bronzers really worked their way into my life very easily, and I do keep reaching for them. And it is the Surratt bronzers, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because it only comes in 2 shades, and I can wear them both. Now, I have the shade Soleil Clair out here. This is the rosier of the 2, but there's also Soleil Dew, which I don't know why I'm being so lazy, as if I would have to like walk up a flight of stairs. So here they both are. I would say that I'm probably reaching for Soleil Dew more than I'm reaching for Soleil Clair, but I've been like I've been mixing and matching. Here's how they work their way into my life. Very, very easily. I already love Surratt blushes. I know that I'm working on a big Surratt video, but like I've used the blushes quite a bit on camera, and I've said Barba Papa so many times because it's caught on as a sort of catchphrase for me. These are the same formula as the blushes. And those blushes almost apply as flawlessly and as beautiful. Like it's like you just touch it to your skin and it's blent. But it's there. The Surratt powders all perform the same, and these bronzers are like no different. I hate that it only comes in 2 shades, but they're really good. They're really good. I hope whatever happens that needs to happen for them to make more shades, like selling the shades that are available, is I don't know what would have to happen, but I hope it does, because it's a beautiful product. The category that I have the most loves at first sight is blushes. So we'll start with the one that I applied on my skin today, and it is the Chantecaille. I don't know, they don't make this, I don't know. It's sometimes I can find it, sometimes I can't. This was their like summer release last year, and if they were smart, they would make this a permanent thing in their collection. It doesn't have to be in this packaging, but this should be permanent. So this is the Sunbeam Cheek and Eye shade in Ray. So this is what it looks like. Everyone who has this uses it differently. I mostly use it as a blush because there is a little bit of rose. The weird thing is people put it on and it leans pink. Some people put it on and it leans orange. And what happens with me is that I feel like it does read more orange on my skin, but it also still has some of that pink that other people see in it. So it works as this like orangey, rosy blush. And I don't know how to describe it. It's like, it takes those 2 things and puts it together. And that's what I really like for it. Now, some people use this as a bronzer. Some people use this only on their eyes. I think that some people with deeper complexions said that they use this with, as a highlighter. All I will tell you is that I think it's a really beautiful product. Like I said, I don't know how hard this is to find anymore, but it is like so good. Like it is so good. And I bought this in December of last year. So it was like, I'm thinking about all the content I was making in December of last year, and I did this like whole ranking thing, but I didn't even include this in my rankings at the end of last year because I bought this in the month of December and I felt like I didn't have enough time with it. The first time I used it was off camera and I was like, this thing is good. This thing is really good. It's a great blush. I might try it as a bronzer, but the blush is like where it's been my happy place. I've also worn it on the eyes. It's a beautiful product. And I feel like every time I mention it, the people in my comment section who have this feel the same way. It's this magical like experience, and wherever your spirit takes you with this product is where you find yourself and you're like, I'm very happy here. I really like it. This is really special. And I hope that Chantecaille considers making this and perhaps making some other, very well thought out, intriguing shades like they did with this. And I think they'd be golden. Here's some other mentions. I'm not going to get too much into them, but or swatching or anything because nails. Swatching with nails, hard. From Kjaer Weis, this is their Inner Glow Cream Pigment. So This is the beige, well, one of the beige blush shades of my dream. I say I'm not going to swatch, and yet here I am, have my fingers in. It is beige, and then it is like this cool toned beige, but then when you blend it out, a little bit of this like silver sheen comes into play. It's such an interesting and intriguing shade of blush for someone with my like skin tone. If you weren't here last year, I went on this big hunt for this cool toned, like dead looking pink blush shade, and I searched high and I searched low, and some people had recommended this one to me. I feel some kind of way about like Clean Beauty and Kira Weiss. Like, I don't think it's a brand that I would ever like do a deep dive on unless everyone who was watching my channel thought that was something that they would want to see. But for me personally, it doesn't feel like a brand that I need to explore. I feel like I jumped in, I got this, got out, and that was all I needed. And you can really see like how much I love it. Like, I put this on the first time and I was like, oh, I get why this was recommended to me. It's really beautiful. Again, I think that might have been on camera the first time I used it, but I also was like, I was enamored with it immediately, but I just was like, you know, you have to control yourself. I really try hard at controlling myself and not getting like too excited when I'm using something for the first time. But like, you can kind of tell, like when I'm using something for the first time and I'm like withholding, I'm like, this is really good. It's really good. I still need to test it more. But it's really good. Something else I found on my hunt for this like dead pink was Mimi from Westman Atelier. Another beigey blush. I have sparkles all over my hand now. I bought this thinking it was going to be the dead pink of my dreams, but this is warm. It's like much warmer than it appears. On their website, it looks like kind of what Inner Glow actually looks like in real life. And so I bought this, and this, it's really pretty. So it wasn't what I was looking for, but it was my first foray really into the like beige blushes. And I love an intense blush, and I love like an intense orange blush, but I found myself in this like beige blush where like this is definitely like a warm leaning beige. Like you can definitely see the warmth in it. I really like how easy they are on my skin tone, like this very easy like beige. And Mimi was my first foray into that. And I remember swatching it and going, this isn't what I'm looking for, but I know I'm gonna really like it. And then the first time I put it on my cheeks, I was like, yeah, it certainly is warm. And it certainly isn't like the dead pink old gum fantasy that I thought it was gonna serve, but it is very beautiful nonetheless. And also the packaging, you can't beat it. Also, I didn't say that about the Kira Weiss. The Kira Weiss, if you can opt for cheaper alternatives or also just buy the refill if you're someone who has like magnetic pan setup. You can also just do that. But if you're looking for if you want the full experience, I think that this is like worth it to like get the fancy compact. You don't have to though. It's just like if you want the full experience, it's like nice. In the beigey blush realm, this is another thing that I bought in December of last year, around the time that I bought the Sunbeam Cheek and Eye from Chantecaille, and it is the Phytosurgeon Skin Spark in Condensate. But this one is kind of like Inner Glow. I would say it has a little more purple in it, but it also doesn't have like the sheen. I just put that right over top of where I had Mimi. Let's try this again. It doesn't have the sheen, so you kind of miss out on that like intriguing silver sheen that Inner Glow has. But this is really beautiful. And the thing is, whenever you put it on and you blend it out on your cheeks, if you have like fair skin, it just seems very intuitive. Like it's like, it looks like a very natural flush. It doesn't look like weird, because the toasted blushes from Phytosurgeons were supposed to be like these cool toned takes on some of their other shades. And they're really incredible, impeccable. And there's like a bunch of different depths, and Phytosurgeon Skin Sparks are some of my favorite. This got put into the drawer before it ever was seen on my face on camera, because I was like, yeah, of course I'm gonna like that, because I have smolder already. And so it's like, it got to jump the line, kind of like with the Victoria Beckham primer in gold. And it was like, I already know you and you're a beautiful color, so you're just invited. You're just invited, right? Like, I don't have to think about it too hard. You're welcome. You're welcome here anytime. Of the two shades, I do like Condensate more now. I just wear a little less like completely orange blush. I've been more into like this kind of warmth, what I have going on with Ray on my cheek. But speaking of orange blushes, I still do love them. This is the Artistique Liquid Blush from Surratt in Cantaloupe. And I wasn't expecting to like this product as much as I do. I don't know, liquid blushes, you never know what you're gonna get whenever you get a liquid blush, right? You never know how intense it's gonna be. It's this interesting thing with this formula where you put it on at first and you're like, oh wow, that's not gonna look good on me. And then you blend it out and you're like, oh, nothing happened. And then you kind of like zoom out from that hyper focused, like what's happening on my cheek. And then you look at your skin and it just looks so good with this like sheen of orange. It's not even orange. It's like just sheen of like melon, but like not super pigmented. It just like, it is the ticket. I wasn't sure I was gonna like the liquid blushes from Surratt as much as I like the powder blushes, but I do. Well, actually I got these first because they sent me these and then they sent me the powder ones later. This was something that was like so easily workable. Like, I don't know. It was like, I think I used it on camera the first time and I was like, I don't know. And I was like, oh, wait. I really actually quite like what's happening on my face. And yeah, this is what the one that's invited. Now, do I like all of the liquid ones equally? No, I don't. But that's like a color preference thing. This color is just like chef's kiss. Finally is the Kiss of Pink bronzer. Now, this was sent to me by a subscriber who said, I don't want it because I'd mentioned I would want to try this. I already had Kiss of Copper and I do love the bronzer formula. I like it. You know, everyone and their mother really likes the bronzer formula. It's really good. I think it's worth seeking out if you haven't tried it, and now there's some more shades of it. This is you know, Kiss of Pink is more it falls kind of more in line with like the beigey blushes. It's right there on my center finger, and it just, well, it has some pink to it. When you buff it out and you put it on your cheek with a brush, it's like, it's beigey. It's beige. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I just did some makeup the other day. The makeup, that I was talking about, I was like in the mugginess for like hours on end. I loved my look that day. I thought my skin looked so good. And this was the blush I used. And because I liked Kiss of Copper so much, I used this one time. I saw how it looked on my skin and I was like, done deal. Done deal. Now, it's not something that I love blush, so I kind of rotate through them a little bit more than I feel like I rotate through some other categories, but it's really beautiful and it has a spot, and I think it earns and owns and deserves said spot. For highlighter, this one actually took me a second to think of. This particular product is in a different drawer than the rest of my highlighters because I at first started using it as a primer, but now I more use it as a highlighter. In fact, let's just get into it. The Auric Glow Lust. If you were here last year, if you were here when I found this, whenever I finally decided to buy it and try it, I put it on my skin and I said, oh. The thing about this is, like, it is just the softest focus, has a little bit of coverage. Like, some people use it as a foundation. I sometimes put it all over my face as a primer, and it just like, it's interesting because it does even out your skin tone and it blurs it, which is weird because highlighters tend to highlight all of the skins and all of the texture. And that's just like the nature of like shiny things, is that they tend to highlight maybe some of the things that we're not so excited about that are happening to our skin. And I find that this product doesn't do any of that. And I was afraid to try this because, much like liquid blush, which I just mentioned, liquid highlighter kind of scared me. I think back to those Cover FX drops that everyone lost their mind over when I started getting into makeup in like the 2016, 2017 era. I bought those and I hated them. They were like really blinding, but I could never get them to work. Luckily for me, this is really easy to use because it's thicker. It's like, I feel like I have more control over where it ends up. Whereas something like a liquid, like a true liquid, that's like very, very much more like a water consistency, kind of, I can't control as much. But this, I feel like I know where it's going. I like where it's going, but like also I do want it all over my face sometimes. And this is something that I wasn't expecting to work my way through so quickly because you get a ton of product in here, but I don't know if you can see, like, I'm like halfway through this bottle almost. That's incredible to me. Like, I love highlighter. I really do. But I bought this at a time where I was starting to like fall out of like my highlighter. And I wasn't called a face because I still love highlighter and I still will use a crazy glittery highlighter when I'm in the mood for it. Nothing's gonna stop me. This is like one of those default highlighters for me where I'm like, if I don't know what I want to put on my cheek, or if I'm not sure that anything's gonna go, I'm gonna put this on. I have the shade Morganite, and this is the newer version of it. I wasn't in on the ground floor when Auric launched, I hadn't found Samantha Ravndal. Her content hadn't found me yet. And then when it found me, I was like, well, I have to try that. And then it's really good. Let's move on to eyes. Now, when I was thinking, it was like, what in the eye category jumped the gun? Like, what did I put on? If for the first time, or like the first couple of times ago, that's for me. That's like for me. We'll start with eyeshadow. And I have a couple of examples, which I wasn't expecting to come up with. It took me a second. I had to go through my drawers, but the first thing that came to mind is the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes palette. Now, I understand this is limited edition. I understand that you can't get it anymore. I bought it when it launched at the end of last year. There's a couple palettes that I always pull out when I want to use like indie shadows or single shadows that I have. I don't build a lot of palettes for myself, but I have a lot of beautiful single sparkly textured eyeshadows. This is one of the eyeshadow palettes that I pull out a lot to work with those because it's just a beautiful neutral palette that I could do anything with and I could put any colors with. That's not to say that I don't love the ethereal shades in here. And I do. Just where I'm at in makeup right now is like, I really love a neutral eye and then like an intense sparkle. And that sparkle can be neutral. And I just love what these do for me. I love the mattes. I find them really easy to work with and easy to blend. I remember trying this and going, I like it. And I had seen some people give it some like mixed reviews. After trying it for like a couple more times, I was just like, this is great. This is really great. Mario is a brand that I would like to like buy into implicitly. But this is the peak, and everything else I've tried has like not been as good as like to me. This is like the best thing that Mario has, and I'm glad I bought it. Like when I bought it, I guess I didn't realize that there was like hype around it because I saw in everyone else's video they're like you like this really hype thing. I guess it was really popular on TikTok, but I'm not on makeup TikTok. And I don't know, like it was like I put it on and I was like, this is great. I don't have longevity issues with it. Like I think some people said that. I love how I kind of like how loose and it's just really great. And so that was the neutrals I used today, but it's not the shimmer that I have on my eyes. We'll talk about that in a second. I don't know if this will come as a shock because it's fresh. It's like one of the most fresher, it's like a very fresh product to me. Very fresh. It's the Yucca palette. But I tell you, I'm pretty good about keeping what I'm testing out of the way. Like I always put it back in the testing drawer. I just put this in my eyeshadow drawer. And when I did that, I paused for a second. I like the first time I was putting it away, I was like, I put it in my regular, my collection of eyeshadows. And I said, yeah, that's right. You belong there. You do. Besides the gold palette, what else could Natasha Denona have done for me to like want to keep this? Well, I have green on my eyes. It's not from this palette, but like I love a grungy green. I love mustardy yellows. I love all of that. And I do love orange. I said I like orange blush, and I do love orange and green together. Not only that, I like Natasha Denona's eyeshadow formula, but what's interesting is I don't usually love the midi palettes. I have tried a couple of them, only a couple. Love and the Retro Glam midi palette. This is the one. I mean, hopefully, you know, Natasha Denona releases more things, but what she really got right is like the texture in here. And like when I did my first impressions of it, I was like, all of my problems with the other two ones that I had from her, like were answered. They were solved in here. And so like, it's a formula I love. I love these new textured sparkly shades. They're really great. They're really great. I really enjoy them. I'm happy to have them. And this just like jumped. It just jumped. It was like, okay, yeah, you proved your worth the first time I used you. I don't think that like this is as exciting to me as like the Makeup by Mario, because it was like, I already know I like Natasha Denona. Whenever I bought this, it was more of a matter of like, am I gonna enjoy the color story as much in person? And is there gonna be the texture that I'm looking for? And it turns out there was. So Natasha Denona was just like, here you go, Tom. And I said, oh wow, Natasha, thank you so much. I'm just gonna put that right in my regular drawer, and I don't think I had to think about it too much harder. And I've used it quite a few times since it's in the rotation. Like it's already something that like when I'm building a look, I already know what, like I know the shadows in here. I'm like, okay, I can go in there for that. So it's just like, you know, it's already like in here. It's in here. It got invited right into my makeup collection. It skipped the line. We're gonna go into two more single shadows. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Hypnotizing Pop Shot in Smoky Quartz. Let's see if I can get it open with my nails on. This was like a limited edition release at the end of last year for holiday. I mean, you remember when I had this. You remember when I put it on and I said, That's for me. If you were here, this wasn't part of my Charlotte Tilbury video. I like sneakily bought this because I just was like, that's an eyeshadow I need. Now, I don't use it as much as I did when I first bought it, but I did use it the other day and I was like, Smoky Quartz has still got it. And it's just like this really basic, I mean, a finger swatch doesn't do it. There's just so much beautiful, chunky texture in there, and it's this beautiful cool tone brown with like beautiful silver sparkles in it. It's just everything. It's just like everything. I want texture. I like cool tones. I mean, I also like warm tones, but like if I'm gonna do something like this, like if you're familiar with my friend Kackie Reviews Beauty, her bedroom eye, her like ideal bedroom eye is like a warm leaning brown that has like that texture and that beautiful, which is the reason I like Mink from Victoria Beckham and she doesn't, because I love the cool tones in Mink. It's like really does it for me. And so the cool tone of Smoky Quartz really does it for me. It's still something that I think to use, but it's just like not as like much in rotation. But like I remember falling in love with this instantaneously. I was like, that's something that it's going to be around for a while. And finally, for eyeshadow, ignore these four in the corner. They're beautiful eyeshadows, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this stuff going out, this L in the perimeter here. Reverse L. This is some of the shades from the Shine by SD and Earthborn collection. Now, what I will tell you is the one I put on my eyes is Nacre. All by itself, nothing underneath it. But I actually meant to put Ice Blink on my eyes. I'm such a fool. They're right next to each other, and I very confidently pulled out Nacre, and I was like, well, I'll just put it on my eyes. It doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. I bought these, and then I was trying them off camera. I wanted to come on camera with my fully formed thoughts on them, but I don't feel like I'm the eyeshadow girly that you are coming to for like eyeshadow opinions, especially indie eyeshadow. I don't want to completely disregard the work of people who really love indie eyeshadows that are on YouTube. But like Instagram, that's where the people have the information about like indie eyeshadows. There's so many people at like all different sizes who have like vast indie eyeshadow collections. And you even get the opinions of people who like don't want to come on camera and do this because like this is a lot. This is like a lot of work. Everyone doesn't want to do that, but like they're so good. As someone who is pretty disillusioned by eyeshadows, although I just mentioned the Yucca palette, which is a really new release. These got me. They just are so good. They are Riley. So it was a collaboration with Seeking Shifts and Shine by SD. Riley, aka Seeking Shifts, just did like a really good job putting these eyeshadows together. I haven't really ever like done a full comparison about like stuff that I already have in my collection, but like I know that they feel unique because I'm thinking about them all of the time. I have other beautiful indie shadows. I have so many Cliona shades, and I even have some Cliona shades that live in my head rent-free. But how often do I reach for them? I don't. I'm always pulling these out to like finish a look, to put on top of something else to make it more impactful. These are just really it. The other day I used Crown Flash in my look, and everyone complimented me because like, look at it. I mean, it's just not basic. Because there's like this green shift in here. There's just so much happening, and Riley's just very talented. She was just like, she really did that. Riley really was just like, I'm gonna make the eyeshadows that I want to wear, and Riley has a very, very large collection of indie eyeshadows herself. And so she was like, what am I missing? And these feel like things that complete out a collection instead of being like, okay, another green multi-chrome. Like, they're just so beautifully textured, sparkly, amazing, gorgeous, stunning. I can't shut up about them because I really love them. You can still buy these, and I highly recommend if you were thinking about it to encourage you. Ice Blink is my number one. It's not what's on my eyes. Nacre's a good one, but like actually Nacre is like my least favorite of them, which is like why it was like very funny that was the one that I put on. When I say least favorite, it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just like of the ones I have, Ice Blink is number one. For eyeliner, the satin gel eyeliners from Victoria Beckham are just next level. They're so good for me. They glide onto the skin. They don't pull at all. They blend so easily, and when they're set, they're set. You don't have to worry about them. They work in the waterline for me. I have heard from other people that they're not the best in the waterline, but they work for me. They're easy to remove, you know, with just like a regular oil cleanser at the end of the night. When I first swiped, I was not someone who loved eyeliner as a process before I had these. In the first video I tried them, I was like, yeah, this is like unlike anything else that I have ever tried. Now, that's also coming from me, someone who hasn't tried a lot of eyeliners. This is really good. And I have 3 shades. Cocoa is the one I use the most, but I also have Ash for whenever I'm going really cool toned. And then I also have Sequin Green, which is probably the one I use the least. It's like a sparkly green shade. I don't often just use eyeliner as like my statement, and I feel like that's what it's trying to be. But sometimes I throw it on for fun. But Cocoa and Ash, I would buy them again in a heartbeat. We're rounding out with a Drugstore product. This was a product sent to me by my friend Andromeda. They had some About Face stuff, and About Face is a brand that I want to do a deep dive on. I just have a lot going on in my review drawer right now. This is one of the Cherry Pick lip color butters. It's specifically in the shade Nashi Pear. It's what's on my lips. And I've had this on for like over an hour now at this point. No white ring of death. I do have a lip liner on. I have the Lip Cheat in Hollywood Honey from Charlotte Tilbury. Most of this pigment is from this. And it's a beautiful product. I, in my first video, was hesitant to it because I was just like, I don't know that this is, 100% for me. Because the scent is strong. I have gotten used to it, and thank God I have, because I love this, and I specifically love this shade. In fact, I've already said this in another video that I'm considering buying like more shades of this. I do need to buy other things from About Face for me to test. It's just really special. It's like this gloss stick formula. It just makes your lips look really good. Like, I don't know how, and it's so comfortable. And it wears for a really long time, like a surprisingly long time for like what it is. Like, it doesn't feel like something that I need to like reapply immediately. It wears off really beautifully. The best thing is it's this glossy product and you get no white ring of death. It doesn't matter how bad of shape my lips are in. This always works for me. And it's always at the forefront of my mind. It's like, when I'm going through my like testing drawer, when I'm like digging around, I'm like normally looking for this because there's like a lot in there right now. It's not technically in my regular drawer. I need to remember that I am gonna eventually do an About Face, so it just needs to be in there. But like, it's a thing that I reach for in the drawer a lot. It like skipped the line of all the other lip products in my drawer right now. My testing drawer, it's like the one that I'm always like, will that work for my look today? No. And I do think I like this formula a little better than the lip slicks from Surratt, which are also really good. A very similar vibe. I don't know how nuanced the rest of the shades are. I haven't really looked into it, but like, these are really good. Those are some of the products that have skipped the line and live in my mind a little bit more rent-free than some of the other products I have. What are some of your products that have skipped the line that came to you and then immediately took over your life in a very real way and then have maintained? I'm interested to know. If you are new to my channel and you like today's video and you're not subscribed, I would love to have you subscribe now. Go ahead and do it. Make sure to like this video. That just helps me out. That's like, I'd appreciate it, and it's free. Again, I have Patreon. Again, I have merch. Those are things that are optional because I know that they cost you money. Check them out if you'd like to, or not. Whatever you want to do. That's up to you. Remember to follow your haute, and you will find me. And I will see you in a video very soon. Bye-bye.